Each night at exactly 12:34 AM, the pantry door opens on its own, and it's all caught on camera. Welcome back to the Creepy Marathon Month. Do we have some scary videos in store for you today? Now you should already know the drill. Hit those lights, sit back, and enjoy. The Backseat Ghost. When it comes to documenting the paranormal, many consider early age photography as being the most authentic due to its limitations and lack of technology that could have been used in forgery. Indeed, there are countless images of ghosts, unidentified flying objects, and other such entities which have terrified those photographers after they are printed. For some, the image of a loved one in the background of a photograph can be comforting and beautiful in many ways. For others, the sight of a demonic presence or pair of eyes staring back at the camera can strike terror into the hardest of men and women. In this case, the photograph has a little more uplifting feel to it, as it was taken by a lady named Mabel Chinnery back in 1959. The black and white image shows her husband in his car, but something is not quite right in the background. Chinnery believes that the shadowy figure seen over her husband's left shoulder is in fact her deceased mother. At the time the photograph was taken, dated March 1959, in the English port town of Ipswich, Suffolk, Mrs. Chinnery and her husband had visited the gravesite of Mabel's mother, a yearly tradition where they would pay their respects and celebrate her legacy throughout the day. Subsequent investigations have been unable to trace the exact location of the gravesite and that of Mabel's mother, only that it resides within a churchyard. Upon arrival at the site, Mr. Chinnery decided to stay in his car, whilst his wife made her way to the gravesite. Mabel was especially excited that day, as she had recently acquired a new camera and was looking forward to taking pictures of the grave and surrounding scenery. She would take several photographs that day, and after noticing that she had one frame left, decided to take a picture of her husband as he sat awaiting her return. It was then that she took the famous photograph. After enjoying the rest of the day, Mabel got the photographs developed, and upon inspection, she couldn't believe her eyes. As you can clearly see in the photograph, in the back seat of the car was the image of a woman wearing a pair of glasses. When Mrs. Chinnery inspected the photograph more closely, she immediately broke down in tears as she recognized the figure as being her mother, whose grave she had just visited. Her husband scanned the photograph for himself, and he too was convinced. The moment the Chinnery backseat driver photo was released to the public, many critics, skeptics, and photography experts were quick to scrutinize and dismiss the ghost theory. However, it was suggested that the image was formed by familiar patterns out of light and shadow. Tests by professional photo analysts have come to the conclusion that it is neither a reflection nor a double exposure. One expert testified, "I stake my reputation on the fact that the picture is genuine." Depending on where you read the story, the person in the back seat is sometimes said to be Mabel's mother-in-law as opposed to her own mother. Regardless, it's definitely a striking image and has stood the test of time as one of the most recognizable paranormal photographs ever. What do you believe? Bigfoot Sighting. Take a look at this short clip, posted by blogger Flamingo1 on April 30th, 2011.
Bigfoot. Do you see it? Look at it. Right.
What's he doing?
Now you have to be quick to catch a glimpse of the so-called Bigfoot, as the first 3 seconds of the video are most important. As soon as the video begins, on the left-hand side of the screen, one can see a large, dark figure walking in the opposite direction of the person behind the camera. It seems to glance briefly over its shoulder as it disappears behind a snowy hill just out of shot. From there, the video continues to show a group of young people looking up at a set of trees and wooded areas before it cuts off. Interestingly, no one seems to see the creature, or at least acknowledge its presence, which is why many believe the footage is real and not faked. The person who filmed and posted the clip also states that it is not forged by stating in the headline, "We were walking along the trail when we saw a group of people looking up at the trees. They said it looked like a bear, but it was on 2 legs." There's no denying the creature is very tall and covered in thick dark hair. The way in which it walks also looks very similar to other Bigfoot footage. This one was filmed in the Smoky Mountains of Clingman's Dome, the highest point in Tennessee. The Great Smoky Mountain National Park itself is situated on the Tennessee and North Carolina border. Bigfoot sightings are plenty in this area. So what do you make of this footage? The disappearance of Trevor Deely. This particular case is definitely peculiar and doesn't seem like your average missing persons case. Trevor Deely was born on the 15th of August 1978, the youngest of 4 siblings. He seemed like an ordinary man with high ambitions, job prospects, and a brewing long-distance relationship. However, on the 8th of December 2000, this 20-year-old Irishman would disappear under mysterious circumstances and never be seen again. His last known whereabouts were recorded on CCTV in the Dublin area. The creepy footage has only added fuel to the mystery. A few weeks before that fateful night, Deely flew to Alaska to visit a woman whom he had met in Dublin while she was holidaying in Ireland. Then on the night of his disappearance, Deely had been attending a Christmas party on Thursday the 7th of December, where he had a few drinks at the legendary Cooper Face Jack's nightclub, as well as the Hilton Hotel. The party ended up at Buck Whaley's nightclub on Lower Lesson Street and lasted into the early hours of the morning. It is recorded that Trevor left the club at 3:25 a.m. and began walking towards his apartment in the Renault complex on Serpentine Avenue in Ballsbridge. Nothing out of the ordinary so far. Due to the adverse weather conditions, Deely stopped over at his office complex for shelter, a cup of tea, and a chat with a night shift colleague, Carl Pender, before grabbing an umbrella and leaving the office at 4:03 a.m. After departing, he called a friend named Glenn, who lived in the town of Nass, leaving a voicemail message, which his friend reiterated, along the lines of, "Hi Glenn, I've missed you there. Just on my way home, all going good. I'll talk to you tomorrow." The message was innocently deleted by Glenn at the time. At 4:14 a.m, CCTV captures Deely in front of a bank after he crossed Haddington Road. A mysterious man dressed in black is seen waiting by the bank 30 minutes before Deely arrives. When he eventually reaches the building, both men have a brief discussion before Trevor enters the building. This is the last known sighting or recording of Trevor Deely. 2 minutes later, 2 more men arrive at the gate to the complex. These men were eventually identified as Deely's colleagues. However, the man in black remains a person of interest and a mysterious piece in the ongoing puzzle. In December 2024, Gardaí put out a fresh appeal for people to come forward on what they know happened to Trevor that night, and if anyone knows who the man in black standing outside the bank is. Despite numerous investigations, reports, and detailed analysis, Trevor Deely remains missing and the man in black unidentified. So what do you think happened here? Could he still be missing? Or do you fear the worst for him and his family? And who was the man in black? The Pantry ghost videos. This one is pretty scary, and a serious contender for the most vivid ghostly encounter of all time. It dates back to 2007, where an unnamed man and his wife documented some paranormal activity in their home in California, where they lived with their daughter, Ariana. Her first name is the only one to be made public. During a series of videos, the father, who has obsessive-compulsive disorder, was constantly working around the home to ensure everything was clean, tidy and secure. One of the things that gave him anxiety was the pantry door, located in the kitchen, that always seemed to open by itself, especially during the night. Having secured the door on a number of occasions, the man was convinced that something was opening the door whilst he slept, and so decided to set up a camera in the hope of catching a mouse, raccoon, or wind trap. What he documented was something entirely different, and terrifying to say the least. At exactly 12:34 AM, the door is seen to open by itself. No animal or gust of wind seems to press it open, no spring or bolt has broken or become loose, and neither his wife nor daughter were in the room at the time. Intrigued, the father decides to film the door for another 2 days. Each night at exactly 12:34 AM, the pantry door opens on its own, leaving the family speechless and confused. The father decides that he will catch the unknown phantom in the act, and so waits in the kitchen by the pantry door, and just as expected, he films it opening at precisely 12:34 AM again. Remaining in the room and desperate for an answer, the man pushes the door closed and steps back with his video camera. It is then that a frosted image of a face and hands emerge from inside the pantry and presses against the door itself, looking out and directly at the man. Grabbing the door and opening it again reveals nothing and no one inside. Take a look. Understandably shaken by what he just witnessed, the man secured the pantry door with a padlock in the hopes of keeping it and whatever was inside closed. However, another night of filming records loud banging noises coming from within the pantry before the door finally opens again, despite the lock. After posting on YouTube, a paranormal commentator reached out to the father, who allowed him to stay at his home and witness the phenomenon for himself. As expected, the face and hands appeared after the door opened at 12:34 AM, frightening both men. This was supposedly the final straw for the man's wife, who asked her husband to remove the door from its hinges. This supposedly upset the spirit, and it started appearing in other parts of the home. Ariana would soon hear voices calling out to her as she tried to sleep, and at one point saw a ghostly figure that identified itself as Mabel, whom she began to play and interact regularly with. A game of hide and seek was filmed by the father, who searched the house for his daughter when he got the shock of his life. Thinking that he spotted Ariana in the corner of her room, he was startled by a laughing sound coming from the bed. Turning around, he found his daughter hiding under her bedsheet. During a visit by a medium to the house, Ariana told her father that Mabel was becoming more aggressive, pulling her hair and making her uncomfortable at times. This was the tipping point that led the family to move out of the home. It's documented that on the last days before leaving the house, crying noises were heard during the night, and a dark entity was caught on camera in the hallway upstairs. What do you think of that? To finish off this story, supposedly when the family moved out, they had numerous pictures printed, and to their horror, they discovered 2 photos that they had not taken themselves. It was pictures of the family while they slept in their beds. Poltergeist caught on camera. This is a very unnerving clip that has been doing the rounds online for the past few years, and it defies explanation. The video was posted by a Reddit user named Marabal30 and uploaded onto the R-Ghost Reddit forum. The caption reads, "My sister has been in her haunted house for 8 years, and still gets shaken up when stuff like this happens. Though the video is short, it contains a haunting noise and setting as the person behind the camera walks down the hallway of the home, filming on what looks to be a mobile phone. Whilst recording, a loud banging noise can be heard, rhythmically cycling in 4 knocks, a very short pause, and then continuing incessantly. When the uploader approaches the source of the noise, in what looks to be the kitchen, the noise gets louder, before stopping as they reach the doorway. Take a look. The user writes that unexplained noises like this are heard at all hours of the day and night, yet no source for them can ever be found. Naturally, skeptics question the credibility of the clip, given the lack of any real evidence, and others have mentioned it could be pipe fittings or a heating system. Unfortunately, there is no more to this story. So what do you think? Is it real or fake? Would you try and communicate with the entity or run?